There's a moment every entrepreneur hits. You're working harder than you ever have. The calendar is packed, but the inbox feels endless. That to-do list never gets shorter, and somehow the business still isn't growing the way that it should be. But the problem isn't effort. The problem is leverage. Welcome to the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, John Davidson, and every week I'm sitting down with founders and top performers who have found that lever. The hire, the system, that mindset shift that changed everything. This show is for the business owner who's ready to stop being the bottleneck and start being the architect. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, John Davidson, and I am thrilled to be joined by an incredible person hailing from an incredible city who is helping all sorts of folks in tremendous ways, which we will get into. Kristie Bergey, thank you for joining me today on the Leverage Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And for our listeners and viewers, what is this incredible city that you are in today and pretty much every day of your life and helping so many people find incredible homes?
I'm in the Philadelphia area. I live downtown near the Art Museum, the famous Rocky Steps, but I service the entire 5-county area of the greater Philadelphia area.
Fantastic. So let's do a little role playing here. Let's just say if I were, let's just say an NBA superstar. Okay. Let's just say maybe I've played like 24 seasons or something like that, and I'm a household name, and I'm a billionaire and a global icon. And let's say I was moving to your city, and I wanted to avoid the terrible mistake of moving to New York, because why would anybody move to New York if they're playing basketball in Philadelphia? What makes Philadelphia a great place to buy a home?
Oh, wow. That's an amazing question. First of all, it's Philadelphia. We have access to just about everything. We're 2 hours or less than 2 hours from the beach, less than 2 hours from the mountains. Our food is unbelievable. We have, I think we now have 7, if not more, Michelin star restaurants. Philadelphia has culture. It has arts. It has energy. It has green space. That's another fun fact. And we have 2 rivers. So we have green space and we have waterfront without having to be on the water in New Jersey.
Ah, important distinction.
I thought so.
Well, I love Philadelphia because of the skateboarding. So for those listening, Love Park, the municipal building, we call it Muni. So I don't know what the actual name of it is, but we'll just add that onto all the other accolades of it being an incredible city. Well, I know that you help all sorts of folks find great places to live and the right homes for them and their at the right time of life, but you specifically focus in on helping seniors and their families navigate this really crucial part of life. What originally drew you in to really focus on this aspect of the business?
That's a great question. So my mother, I grew up with a mother who is a gerontologist and a bereavement counselor. So I have watched her through her career help people either with end of life or in the first early stages of making decisions on how to make their final move for their best care. And I think that really influenced my decision to helping people and families make decisions about what to do with mom or dad, or one of, or I should say mom and or dad. And it's really a really emotional process for both folks, especially when it comes to money. There's a lot of conversations that don't happen that need to happen. There's also a lot of conversations about health and wellness that also doesn't happen. And it's all very generational, and that's something I've learned over the years, is that as we have been going through these last, 3 decades, our generation of our seniors has changed in the way that they're talking about their next end of life conversation. Some of them are still not having it. They don't want to talk about what happens when I die. And what
Right.
happens to the house? Where are my things? Where is the safety box with my passcodes? These are things that are real things that we need to talk about. That was about a security deposit box 30 plus years ago, is now about how do I get access to my Comcast account? How do I get access to
Oh,
my bank account? You know, whatever the conversation is about, it's also about where am I going to be that is going to be less stressful on my family as a whole, including me. And how can I be
right.
a part of that decision making process when I'm still in control? And that's the biggest piece of this conversation that I want to have with families, is while everybody is still with sound mind and body, to make decisions that they can control throughout the process. So when things are out of their control, health is usually it, then they can feel that they've made the right decision for themselves and their family.
Yeah, it is such a complex decision. And I've been close to this myself. My mom and stepdad, years ago, they sold their house and they moved into an independent living facility. And my stepdad, it was like, yes, this is my zone. I'm ready to be chilling and, have dinner brought to me and, have the movie nights
And
once
how
a
about
all these
cocktail
things
hour?
and cocktail hour, most importantly. Hey, East
That's what
Coast
we
here.
talk about all the time.
That's right. Kristie, just for our listeners, she did, before we start recording, she said, make sure everyone knows it's after 5 o'clock here. I said, Kristie, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. This is a judgment-free zone, so you do you. But so my dad or stepdad was just like all, is like, yeah, this is the right zone. And my mom was like, I'm just around all these super old people who happen to be the same age as I am. Young, she's a young 75. But and so they actually were there for I think 6 months and then they were like, no, we are not ready for this. And so they bought a new house and it was a whole deal because they had, sold their previous house,
Hmm.
went to the independent living facility, and
Hmm.
then had to get back out on the market calling the
That's,
financial guy, hey,
yeah. What do we do?
can we
John,
pull some of that money out?
question. Do you recall how old they were at that time?
Great question. This was a few years ago. I want to say probably 72, 73,
Okay.
around that time.
So the average age is still well into their 80s, is about 85 for when it's more assisted living. And
Mm-hmm.
that is very young. 70 something is very young, the younger 70s, mainly because unless you know for fact that you have Alzheimer's in your DNA and hereditary, if you have a hereditary disease and you know that it's kind of inevitable, that
Mm-hmm.
early 70 is then does make sense. And it's called a CCRC, which is a continuing care retirement community, which allows you to have those levels. So you start in independent, you start in a beautiful cottage like my dad and my stepmom, which I was
Mm-hmm.
going to tell you about, is as an example, they made that choice and they were their late 70s, but they were also dealing with a 5 acre farm with 5 different outbuildings and horses and the whole 9 yards. And my dad was kind of pieced out probably years prior. But
Mm-hmm.
they also saw that they did not want to create a burden for me and my sister and create that opportunity for themselves too, to be still in. By the way, their home, I think, is well over 3,000 square feet. It's not downsizing. Let me be clear about that. I mean, it might be even more because they finished the basement. But they have, like you said, they have the ability to have dinner made for them if they want to, but they have a full service kitchen. They have housekeeping every week. They have laundry, but yet my stepmom loves to do laundry. So she still has her laundry facility.
Oh man, I need to meet this
I
woman.
know we all need her. Trust me. You heard my mom. I have it set. So,
Does it
and
skip a generation? The
it
laundry?
kind of sort of did. My mom still takes the stains out of my clothes for me. She's like, Kristie, you really need to learn how to do this. And I go, you're still here, mom. I don't have to learn anything.
Not a moment too soon. Yeah.
No, no. I still take all my weights and go, she says, what is that? I go, your guess is good as mine. I don't have
Mom,
any.
I'm giving you a reason to stay with us. It probably keeps her vibrant, keeps
Oh,
her
well, my
active.
mom is so vibrant. It's not even funny. And that was an example I was going to share with you is that so my mom's about the same age as my dad and my stepmom were when they made the decision to sell the farm and do this. And they found they interviewed several different places with the CCRC factor, and they found the one that they felt the most at home. If you know Pennsylvania, they're right at Longwood Gardens. So going from a farm to a DuPont, beautiful opportunity to go walk gardens and be in nature in literally less than 5 minutes from their home. I mean, this was the best decision for them, right? With my
Yeah.
mom, however, she's completely in still in her home. It's a very affordable home. It's a very workable home. She loves gardening, but we have not taken away, but we have taken it off her plate mowing the grass and hired somebody for that because she can afford to do that and she doesn't need to stress out about that.
Right.
Our conversation about what she may need in the future is continuously happening based on what's going on in life for her, for the house, but she's maintaining the house. I mean, there's things she always looks at me as a realtor going, Kristie, I'm doing this. Am I spending the money in the right spot? And what we did about 3 years ago is we changed all the bathrooms. We modernized them, but we also accommodated her potential needs to be able to stay in that house and gave her a new, basically walk-in shower that she can easily clean, but it's also something that we can easily alter with handles, etc., if necessary for her in the future. Enough
Yeah.
space for, somewhere for her to sit down. We don't know what we don't know, that may or may not come to us, but we took care of two things with doing that renovation. We took care of her and we took care of updating the home so it would be ready for sale when she was ready for it to be sold. So it
Mm.
was a win-win, just like everything else she does to maintain the house. Some of it you can't see. HVAC systems. You can't see that your brand new hot, heater is working and your air conditioner is working until it doesn't work. But it is
Right.
something that comes up right on a home inspection. And in this market, home inspections are coming back,
Yeah.
whereas they were being waived. And if you see an end of life on a unit and that person needs that money to go into their
Hmm.
new retirement, whatever situation is it looking like, that could be a big chunk of change, $10,000 to $15,000 that now seller gets credit on. So
Yeah.
why not address it? And no matter how old you are, my conversation with my folks, buyers or sellers, but specifically sellers in that case, is what, if you're going to have to do it one way or another, why not enjoy it now? If you're thinking a 5-year plan, let's think about this 5 years. I can still sell a house with a 5-year-old HVAC system. If that's going to make your life more comfortable, you not being worried about not being comfortable, do it now. If you have it, spend it because that money's gone anyway,
Right.
whether it's at the sale or it's today. So if it
That's a good
has
point.
benefit to you now, let's spend it.
Yeah, and it's a really good point you made earlier too about how quickly things can happen, especially around
Yep,
end of life, right? And so when you're planning ahead and you're getting these things done, so like you said, yes, you don't have to take the time to, oh, I got to replace XYZ. It's good to go if it needs to. And a lot of these things last for what, 5, 10 years, even longer, right? And so when you
absolutely.
get it installed, if you're saying, hey, I'm not going to be here longer than 5 years.
But it's still going to be good for the sale because it's only 5 years old. And
That's
it
right.
should last for
Yeah.
10, should last for 20, depending on what we're talking about.
Yeah, those are great insights. We've touched on it a little bit with how emotional these transactions are, right? Transaction is probably not even the right word for it, but and then the planning ahead, the variety of different things to think about. But let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What really makes these, selling a home and this end of life transition very different than your typical real estate transaction?
So, real estate, buying your home and selling your home, two things happen. Number one, that you have to understand is it is the biggest purchase price if you're a buyer, right? It's the biggest
Yeah.
purchase that most of us will ever make in our lives. So that's emotional. So when you get to walk into the house on the day of settlement and things aren't there that you thought you were buying, that's going to be upsetting, right?
Hmm.
If you're not getting that as a part of the deal, it's going to be upsetting. So it's emotional. Or I'm going to lose this house and I love this house so much, so I'm going to go up in my number. It's emotional purchasing.
Hmm.
The sale is no different. It if and especially when it's your primary home, let alone the home that you raise your children in, let alone the home that has all of their stuff and your stuff,
Yeah.
and nobody wants it. Let's be honest. I mean, one of the things that I feel like I bring to these transactions is I'm a storyteller and I love stories. I love hearing. I really think that I am an 85-year-old person here in this body because you tell me to go to sleep, I'll be asleep on a couch in 2.2 seconds. Done. you know, but I
Especially after your
also,
second glass of wine.
after my second glass of wine, I'm no totally out. See you. Bye. But no, I think though the stories that go along with the stuff, remembering when you were on a trip and you brought this back. I remember going just recently, a few months ago, I was getting a house prepared. Woman was going into memory care, and I was taking the magnets off the refrigerator because for the photo shoot, and her daughter was like, just throw them away. I'm like, I can't, because these were from, like, I think one was from Cuba and they were
Wow.
from
Yeah.
all over the world. And I'm like, I, I can't do that. But now I'm having the conversation with my mom when we're traveling and she wants to get a magnet. I'm like, please don't. Please don't. I don't have to throw that away. But you hear what I mean? Like, that stuff means something to me. And a lot of these families, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, whatever it is, they don't care about the stuff as much as the person who owns it cares about it. So there's another additional layer of emotion that's happening there. And again, I go back to one of the first things we talked about, and that's about control. That when this happens, if they don't feel like they're in control, making their own decisions, that can also be extremely emotional. And we find this often in the, again, memory care situation, but it can happen to everybody. If they feel
Mhm.
like the kids are taking over or they're not, their stuff isn't being respected, that it becomes extremely emotional as well. And that is a control factor, but it's also a reality that I feel what I bring to the table is sitting and listening to the stories and even saying, if nobody wants that, I'll take it. Because 9 out of 10 times I will. So you never know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, well, you've had a multifaceted career, and we're going to have to do a whole nother episode just on all the incredible things you've done. But, you've been in facilities management, you've been in consulting, marketing, operations, obviously real estate. Now, which one of these former roles, I'm curious, has really been most valuable in helping you serve your senior clients today?
I think my project management role while that was not parlay completely into real estate as we know it in housing and let alone the senior community. I think that the ability that I have to help get from point A to point Z is what project management taught me. I have created a huge vendor list and basically a conglomerate of folks that have helped me help my people get to Z. And I think that the other part of that project management, and maybe it's just my brain and the way that I work, is that I already know what Z looks like and I already know how to get there. What also that job at the time, I was working for a national retailer, taught me is how to slow down and
Hmm.
how to explain how I got to Z. Because a lot of people are still on
Uh,
A and barely can get to C, and I'm already done. I've already done the
right.
project in my head. I've already allocated who goes where, who's on first, who already hit the home run, like who's coming in. I already have it all planned out, dated, etc. And I think not just an asset, but I think because I'm so fast at it, that's something I've had to learn over the years, but especially in that job, was really slowing down and learning how to explain myself. And I continue, honestly, John, I'm still struggling with that because I just want to help. I just want to get it done. And I like the projects. I like
Yeah.
fixing things and I like helping people even more than all of that. So I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I really like that perspective you shared about, A to Z, but slowing down to help other people get there with you. I had an issue earlier in my career where I was working at actually GameStop and in their marketing department as their head of partnerships. And so I worked in the marketing department. And so I would pitch these ideas because I was like, guys, why are we not doing this?
Great.
But I didn't have that perspective that you just shared. I believed everybody knew everything I knew or understood my perspective and so I would skip over a bunch of stuff and all my pitches would fall flat because people weren't in my head. And so a mentor of mine, he said, "John, this has always stuck with me." He said, "John, no one knows your common sense." And
It's
so that's
only
always
common
stuck
to
with
you.
it's only common to you. And so it's like, even if somebody had the same path that I did, they, were a skateboarder and then they got into business and then they were working at GameStop, whatever. Well, we just even the tiniest bit of difference of whether it's our families or where we did it or when it happened or whatever, you know something that nobody else knows, and we often forget it. And so we can often fail to bring people along. And
Mhm.
that's something that you do very, very well. We've touched on the emotional aspects of selling these homes and figuring out, right sizing or, what the next move in life is. But let's go just a little bit deeper. Help me understand, how do you help someone really navigate that situation when they're your client?
So, one of the biggest questions that I'm working with a client on now, and actually the same one with the magnets, was how am I getting mom the money before we sell because we need her out of the house immediately because of safety issues or immediately because we can't show the house with mom in it, right?
Yeah.
And where's this money coming from? So, I have developed, it's really not me. It's just me knowing the business. But I've developed a couple of different strategies on how to help folks find the money before sale.
Mm.
And that has alleviated just starting the conversation about how much equity is in the house. If someone's been in a home for more than 20 years and anywhere in this country, they are probably likely looking at equity that they may have capital gains taxes on. So, as an example, here in our area, in my 5 county, even New Jersey, if you are married and your home is worth $1 million and you purchased it for 250, you only have a $500,000 capital gains freebie. So now you're at
Right.
750, right? But if I can sell it for $1 million, you now have $250,000 that could be looking at about a third of that to be lost to capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a big conversation around that. What does that look like? Do you have receipts of the improvements to the home? How much can we write off? Now, what are we really looking at? Are there other opportunities to help family, taking money equity out of the home? Can we use that equity in the home like a bridge loan? It's not a bridge loan, but can we take the equity out of the home to help you because you've identified where you want to be and how much that's going to cost you to get in? Can we use that as a helpfulness, and would that potentially help you to reduce some of those costs? And that's between my client, their accountant, and a financial planner, potentially their lawyer. So that's how I help navigate that conversation. And again, it's oftentimes with the kids because it's gotten too far because this conversation hasn't happened. But this conversation happened with me and my dad and my stepmom. And that's how we were able to find the way to bridge the equity that they were basically going to lose and be very taxed on, and use that money into their new situation. And then the sale of the house paid it off.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, that's so complex, like, I mean, you're just spouting off like probably just the smallest bit of all that's in your mind and understanding these scenarios. And I'm just like, oh
It's a
my
lot.
goodness, I definitely am going to need somebody who knows all of these different things, take the emotion out of it. My
Why do
goodness,
you think
there's,
everybody drinks with me on the call?
and she's a good time. Um, well, I want to get into a little bit more on the financial side and specific
Mhm.
scenarios. But before we do that, let's listen to a message from our sponsor, Sphere Rocket.
Business owners and entrepreneurs will place a proven executive assistant VA for just $4 to $8 an hour, and if they don't perform, you don't pay. Imagine freeing up 20 plus hours a week by someone handling your most time consuming tasks like admin work, managing emails, scheduling meetings, and so much more. This one hire could transform your productivity and give you back the time you need to focus on growing your business. At Sphere Rocket VA, we make this possible in as little as 7 days. We'll place a proven executive assistant VA in your business for just $4 to $8 an hour, and your VA will take over day-to-day administrative tasks, help manage your email and calendar, follow up with past clients, giving you back 20 plus hours a week so you can increase your sales and even enjoy more personal time. And here's the best part. If they don't give you back 20 plus hours a week in the first month, you don't pay Sphere Rocket a dime. We've done this for thousands of business owners, and now it's your turn to see the results. Click the link around this video to schedule a demo and discover how this one hire can completely change how you run your business. Remember, if within 45 days the VA doesn't perform, you don't pay.
All right, we are back here with Kristie Bergey, and she has given us all sorts of great insights into not just real estate, but specifically senior living and the decisions, the opportunities, and all that goes into this very, very impactful part of life for every family. Every family experiences this. Well, I want to get into, we talked a little bit about the financial side of things and some of the things to consider. Tell me this, when does keeping the family home make sense? And when might selling or downsizing make more sense?
So, like I said with my mom, I'm going to use her as an example. She loves it when I do that. So she's in a perfect situation where it's a split level. So each of the steps to get from one level to the other is no more than 5, I think 6, maybe max. We also have a place that if it necessary to be that if we ever needed a hospital bed, it'd be on the first level with a bathroom, and we would have to be able to get aides in to help, or my sister and I to help with that. Aging in place is a really complicated conversation. It really is health driven, and then it's also support and financial driven. So the first step is how healthy. My mom walks 5 miles a day. I say she's pretty healthy. I really had to tell her to
I
stop
wish I
mowing
was
her.
that healthy.
I know, I know. But I really hoped. I wished I could have told her. I mean, I wish she stopped mowing her lawn years ago, but that took a minute. So you see what I mean? Like 5 miles a day, plus being out there with a lawn push mower and doing her own yard and yard work. That is still my mom. She still tried. She actually said she got rid of her lawnmower just so she wouldn't try it again. There's a Hail Mary.
Wow.
Okay. So that's how determined she is. That's how on her feet literally she is. And this is also 3 years after a major car accident that left her severely concussed.
Oh, wow.
So I say that in essence because these are the concerns that my sister and I have, to watch her through her process as she ages in place. How are things with her memory? Do we see anything that looks like, she forgot to turn off the oven, or put something in the refrigerator that doesn't belong? And I'm not talking about just absent-mindedness. We all have that. I'm
Right.
talking about real severe things. And those are the ways that you determine whether or not the home is suitable for said person. The family member also is, how you what's safe is determined by there's ADA laws, there's aging in place, sheets step by step that you can read up on, and ways you can keep someone in their home even with dementia, like removing the knobs off of the oven so that they can't turn it on and set the house
Oh,
on
interesting.
fire. Okay. Leaving notes. This is do not touch the thermostat. Do not go into the basement. Keeping certain doors locked. What's really interesting is that you mentioned earlier, technology and where we are today. You were talking about gaming. I'm talking about living. I can literally game with my mom. My mom watches me when I get in too late. She watches my Ring camera. I watch hers. And now that we can have Ring in our homes, we can have cameras everywhere. So you can watch that person if you're not there. So you can
Mom, put down the mower.
You have no idea how many times I did that, especially after the accident. I'm like, you're not supposed to be outside. I would talk through the camera and be, she's like, oh, jeez, I got caught.
How do I
I'm
unplug this thing? Oh,
So,
the Ring camera, the batteries went out again.
yeah, no, that's why it's hardwired. I'm not that dummy. Anyway, so these are ways that you can keep loved ones in the home. The biggest thing that I am most concerned about with my families, not just mine, is their financial stability, because staying at home can be extremely costly in daycare, like someone coming into the home daily, and personal care, and making sure that they're safe. And at that juncture, one of the biggest things that I'm going to just put this out there to our listeners is, if you do have in-home care, before in-home care comes in, please take out valuables. Please don't set somebody up to take from you and your loved one. Please. I say this as a listing agent, that everything needs to be put away, and secured or removed completely. That's just it. Remember, John, what did you say? Common sense? That's my common sense. It's not everybody's, right? So don't set people up for failure. They do the job because they either need to financially for themselves, but they're the ones that are there taking care of mom. And, the reason why we keep saying to mom is that mom usually outlives dad. So it's usually mom that we need to be taken care of. So please note to self, just be ready for when you do have in-home care coming in. Even your housekeeper. My parents had stuff stolen just from their housekeepers way before any of this, aging stuff happened. People are not nice. They're sometimes not nice. So just be prepared, and just know that long-term care, long-term health insurance, insurance sometimes doesn't cover what you need. Can be a waste of money. Like for you and me, John, I can't get it. You can't, like us paying into long-term care right now is just silly. We'd be better off putting it into our 401ks, because we need that money anyway. We're not going to get out of it what we need at the time that it takes. I think it's like $350 a day for in-home care. It's a lot of money when you times that by 30 times however many years.
Yeah.
So these are conversations. It's a lot.
Well, another question I have for you, every top real estate agent I talk to talks about how, they don't focus on their paycheck. They don't focus on their commission. They focus on solving a problem for their client, and the commissions are a byproduct, right? But as we've discussed throughout this episode, these decisions and these transitions are more complex than the others. And so I'm curious if there was a time in your career that you can recall for us where doing the right thing for the client wasn't necessarily the best thing for your pocketbook, for your commission, but you did it anyway because obviously you're here to serve your clients.
The magnets.
Magnets.
That deal. To get that deal done for my seller, I was on both sides. Okay, guys, I told you, no barking allowed.
He needs a refill.
Come on, Carmi, no. Is the magnets. I I love my sellers. They, I met them just through this process. I didn't know them beforehand. I was on both sides of the deal, and I really thought it was going to be okay. And the buyer was difficult, and we almost lost the deal because of the buyer. And I gave up commission, and I also paid for a contractor to do some work that she insisted needed to be done in order to get the deal done. My lovely seller was able to get up to this point, but she had been giving, and just had enough. And I also knew that, mom was already in a facility, and I knew she needed to get this done. So yeah, I gave up my end for that, to do the
I love
right thing.
those. Yeah, I love those examples of integrity, and it's just really neat to see the real reason that you're doing all this and the positive impact that you're having. Speaking of success, at this point in your career and this specific focus on seniors, what does success mean for you today in your current role?
That's a loaded question, John. You can't ask me that. Success is so many things. I just got off a call with a friend of mine, and to me, success is being able to be with my family, being able to provide for myself. I'm single, and I think that I can still provide not just for me. If I want to help out my nephew who just went to college, I can throw him a couple dollars. I can still go on vacation, and I can still take my mom to a doctor's appointment, or be there for my dad and his wife, if necessary. I think, to me, success looks like that. I've succeeded in so many ways. I'm grateful for everything that I've accomplished in so many ways that I ever think when I was sitting in a retail warehouse, going through boxes in my overalls, which I still own to this day, looking for shrink, items that were stolen. Did I ever think I would be here? No, not at all. I mean, I own 4 properties as someone who's single. I have zero help. It's all me, myself, and I, and I did it. I just did it. And that's success in itself, to me. I think being able to have the freedom, I've traveled the world to do that. I mean, I only am missing 2 continents, and I actually have a client who I can't wait to meet up with, because she's so traveled, and she's also a senior client, and said, "You're always on a plane. I need to know where I need to go next," and that having that ability to do that, to me, is success. And I really do believe that it's not just the money in the bank. It's about, I think, the freedom.
I love that. Well, and speaking of the 2 continents, I'm assuming one is Antarctica.
It is.
What's the other one that is still on the bucket list?
You're never going to believe. I'm going to have a sip of wine while you think about that. It's so obvious, especially for you, where you're located and where you grew up. Giving you hints.
I am.
That is a good face.
Even more I'm more. I'm going to guess South America. I don't know.
That is correct. That is correct. Can you believe Mexico? I just can't get off the peninsula. I can't get into the country. I can't get into the continent.
Can't get past the equator. Yep.
Can't get past the equator. So that's my biggest one. Yeah, Antarctica is definitely one. And Antarctica is on my list to do sooner than later, if it has to go ahead of South Africa, only because I don't do well in the cold. I think I skied and really ruined my feet. So I got to get in now.
It's cold there.
I think it's only going to get worse for me, to be able to deal with it.
That's a good point. Well, I just want to see the giant government space lasers, that are, all the secret stuff
Add that to the list.
Clearly down there. No
Yeah.
question. Well, for those listening, last question for you here, Kristie. Remind us, which areas, once again, you focus in on. And so for those listening and hearing, like, wow, Kristie really knows what she's talking about. She has a deep expertise. I would love her to help me the same way she's helped countless other families. How can people get in touch with you?
Thank you for that. So, just as a reminder, I'm Kristie Bergey with Coldwell Banker, associate broker here out of Philadelphia. I service, for those of you who know the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, I service all the way up to the Pocono Mountains and down to Center City. So that includes the 5 county surrounding areas of Philadelphia, aka the Greater Philadelphia area. The best way to get a hold of me is through my website, which is KB, as in Kristie Bergey, and the experience that you just had.com. So KB at kbexperience.com, Kristie Bergey, Coldwell Banker. Thank you so much, John, for this amazing time with you.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you again for joining me and sharing all that you have learned and how you're impacting so many families in very positive ways. Thank you again for joining me on the Leverage Podcast.